and welcome to my platform, and thank you for watching my channel. Please do remember to subscribe, share if you care, and hit the notification bell. So today I decided I was going to do a video about large frames, gallery frames kind of. This is very odd. I've got potatoes and an iron, and I'm sure you're wondering what in the world. I just wanted to straighten out the paper because it had been rolled up. Now what I wanted to do was to put adhesive plastic on the portrait, but then I really struggled to get the adhesive to stick smoothly straight across with no bumps and air. It was really bad, so I ended up not using that portrait. I got another one, and as you can see here, I used it. I also went and got some wooden planks for the frames, and then I used some black paint, and it was kind of like a charcoal color. I didn't like it. After I painted it and it dried, it looked very dry, very dull, faded, kind of black, which I didn't like. So I ended up spray painting the frames over with black again, with some black spray paint that I got at the hardware store. I spray painted all sides, and then afterwards I then used hardware glue, which I'll show you, to put together the frames. And this is after I had spray painted, so I used the hardware glue to put on the frames. And then after I put the hardware glue onto the frames, some constructive glue, I then stapled it for extra security and to hold the frames in place. After I'd done this, I went out and spray painted where the staples were and any parts where the glue was showing. You can see it was very easy, not difficult at all. I did all 4 corners. Now, mind you, I did 2 frames, so I did this process twice, where I basically just stuck and then I stapled the sides of the frames so that it has a very strong constructive sort of whatever you want to call it. Now, it is up to you whether you want to spray paint or whether you want to paint. Either way, it's perfectly fine. You can use nail gun as well. I did think of it, but I don't have a nail gun. So I thought the easiest way to keep it together and tight would be to staple it instead. Now it's nice and secure. For the back, I used some boards that were left over from a previous project. These boards were supposed to go on the wall, but then they didn't. The pieces that I had happened to fit perfectly on the frame, which was very nice. And so I just measured. But then as you can see, there's a little space over there, and I didn't have enough paper, obviously, to go over that. So I used the old one, which I think was a blessing in disguise, to cut out and to kind of hide that little piece there on the side. That's the old one that I tried to put the plastic adhesive. As you can see, it was an absolute disaster. So I just took that and I cut it on the side, and then I pasted it on the side of the paper, or rather the portrait that's there already. So I glued it down with some spray adhesive, but I found the spray adhesive didn't work very well. I'm only gluing the top and the bottom because for any air bubbles or anything like that, I didn't want it to look awkward. So gluing it down with glue all the way was going to look really weird. So as you can see, there's space on the sides, and I took care of that the way that I mentioned to you. So now I didn't go for glass because I was scared I was going to break it. So what I ended up doing is I went for this plastic, which I got from a material shop. And I decided to go with that because it was giving that glass. It was giving glass, but it wasn't glass, but it was giving glass. And it worked out pretty well. So I just kind of put it over the frame. I didn't really measure it. I put it over the frame. I stapled it down each and every single side. I tried to staple as many staples close together. You should do that because if you don't, when the picture stands up, you're going to see spaces where the staples are. So it's always better to staple as many staples close together as you can. Mine was limited, so I only could staple a few, but it worked out so beautifully, so perfectly, and I would recommend that you do it that way. There I cut out the plastic around the frame and it turned out to be perfect. As you can see, there it is. So I took this out into the sun, and I let it sort of sit there. And what happens is it straightens out any wrinkles the plastic may have. So you just leave it out in the sun for a couple of minutes and it makes the plastic completely straight, and then you can use it afterwards. Now here's the frame, rather the portrait, and it is stuck onto the back over there. And I took the frame with the plastic, as you can see, and then I kind of measured it over. As I mentioned before, the boards happened to be the exact size of the frame, so I was very lucky in that sense. But the other board, which you don't see here, I did off camera, the sides were a little bit overlapping, so I had to go outside and use my saw to cut that out, just the small sides. I measured, used a pencil, and then I cut out the parts that were not so great. As you can see there on the side, that little piece that was not quite matching the original portrait, but you can barely see it. Once the picture is in the frame, you can barely see it. No one notices it, so it was great. So I sized it up and then I used small nails, which were quite short. I sized it up and it fit absolutely perfectly. It was really great. I loved it. I didn't use the long nails here because obviously the frame wasn't that thick. I used the short nails and I nailed the frame to the board on each and every single corner. Now I didn't do it in between because on in between I wanted to put the frame holder. I don't know what you call it, but it's like a D ring. Yes, a D ring. So I wanted to put a D ring on each side. And then I also bought some portrait, or rather frame, kind of like a metal or wire, which is specifically for frames. So I put it on the side, which I'll show you in a few. But at the moment, you can see there, I just nailed the four sides, or rather the four corners of the frame. And then any excess paper or whatever, I just cut off. And then I turned it around, and as you can see, it was perfect. As I said, if it overlaps, just go and cut it with a saw and you'll be fine. This is where I cut it, and these are the nails that I used, the long nail and the short nail. Now, the long nail I used for the D-ring, which is, you can see there on the side of the portrait in the blue container, and also it's right there next to the wire of the drill. So I nailed that in, basically measuring where it was going to be. So before all of this, I measured where I wanted my D-rings to sit and how far up I wanted the rings to sit, or rather the wire to hold the frame. I measured that all up. You can go measure yourself and see where you want it, but I would put it quite close to the top, so that your frame can sit evenly like most frames do. So first I drilled with a short nail, and then I drilled with the long nail. The reason why I drilled with the short nail first is to make a hole. It was difficult to make a hole with the long nail, so I did it with the short nail, and then I drilled it in, and then I drilled it out. Then I took it out, and then I put in the long nail and drilled the long nail in. There you can see the D-ring. That's what I put on the side of the frame, and then I used the long nails, as you can see over there, to drill in after I used the short nails. Now, as I said, I used a wire which is specifically made for frames. So I bought one wire, and then I took, because it's such a huge picture, I think the maximum weight I could use was 4 kilograms. So I took the wire and I doubled it up. So I made it twice. So I doubled the wire up, and then I twisted the wire so that it doesn't fall. Because I didn't know how many kilograms the portrait weighed, but I doubled it up, and I attached it to the the D-rings. How I attached it, I actually just did a normal knot, as you would with a cotton or with wool, and then I just wrapped it around the other side of the wire. I'm sorry I wasn't able to show that, but I hope that makes sense. Now, as you can see here, the picture frames, and they're completely done. As I said, I did do two. The first one went perfectly. The second one was a little bit of a hiccup, but it went really well. Please don't forget to subscribe. If you really like the video, comment. If you try this at home, please let me know how it goes. I really love to hear from you, and I can't wait to see you again. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.